Welcome to FoodKast. I'm your host Rick. Our guest is Owen from Truly Honest Food. Hi, Owen.
Hey, how are you, Ricky? Good?
Oh, all good. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, how you got where you are.
Yeah, so my kind of upbringing, I came from a quite a modest, conventional Irish family. Kind of either working middle class, whatever way you want to put it. But like my dad was actually he started off as a baker. He's a baker for like maybe 15, 20 years, in and around when I was born and a bit before that. And he worked at a famous bakery around Portobello now. It's called the Bretzel. It's still there today, but it's actually it's under a different ownership now. But I think that's where most of my influence as a child kind of came from, is having that relationship. He had a relationship with food, and then I kind of got that from him, I think, and then we shared that common bond. My mom was an accountant, so nothing to do with the food industry or anything like that. But like thinking of my upbringing and the things that were important at the time, where although, like, to be honest with you, they weren't the best cooks in the world, but they made it out of love. And I think the one thing that I can remember was that when we were sharing food, no matter where we are or what we were doing that day, we'd always make sure to take time, sit around the table, and like food was at the center of that, but it was almost like the main pillar, and we kind of shared what we did that day or whatever. And it was just strange because we were quite an active family, quite modern, but like had this kind of modest act, that ritual every night. And I think from a young age that has stayed with me to this day, and it kind of taught me of the power of food and kind of bringing people together. And I think that subconsciously, like, it's something that I would often think about now to this day.
Oh, that's amazing. That's something really nice. My family is half Italian, half Portuguese. Everything was around the table. And I remember if you want anything, would be in the kitchen. People would be there, and that's family.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's same here at home. Sometimes you don't see each other, and that's the only moment you have to see around around the table sharing food. And I think nothing's better than this. And that's one of the things make me become a chef. That's amazing. And then
yeah.
you
I
you,
think
you
what
comment,
just going off what you're saying there,
yeah,
like you think of Italians, the nonna would be. It's almost like there's very few cultures where they would have a matriarchy, and the nonna would be at the top
yes,
of the matriarchy, and
yes.
she'd make all the food, and it's such a, that was obviously such an important thing from an Italian culture. Do you know what I mean? So that's just another example of how important it can be, and how it can almost like increase your status amongst your family. So I always
Yes,
think that's actually really cool about Italians.
that's amazing to hear. That's something. One of the things I always say is what reminds me of Brazil here in Ireland is if Brazilians had to be described in a different nationality, I would say Irish. We are very
Really,
similar in that way about family and like the food around us, and I think it's very important that, and it's something make me feel like home here in Ireland.
yeah,
But
definitely.
you told me like you grew up watching cooking shows,
Yeah.
and what's your favorite show and your best chef in that sense?
Yeah. So like thinking back to when I was very young, and like as I said, before I like did anything in relation to food, I felt like this is where I got most of my foundational knowledge about food. And I remember watching specifically, and like, sharing this moment with my mom and my dad. We'd sit down and we watch MasterChef on BBC. That was the original MasterChef, and Michel Roux Jr. was always the kind of the main guy in that. And what I loved most about MasterChef was, although I was so young, it was the first time I was exposed to like Michelin star food, fine dining on that level, like seeing it being prepared by Michelle, and then seeing the contestants trying to recreate it in a different way, and then the opposite side to that, which is what I kind of love now. And I think going out to the critics, Jay Rayner, seeing him
Yeah,
criticize the food, give the review, and I was just intrigued from an early age. And I absolutely loved it, and I think that's why in terms of like TV shows, Michelle Roux Jr. would always be important to me from a nostalgic point of view. Nowadays, I like there's so many different shows that I watch, but I think of Anthony Bourdain, um, really like RIP, an amazing person. I think he introduced a new way of talking about food, completely unscripted, off the cuff. Just made himself such a personality in going around these countries. I keep rewatching Parts Unknown on Netflix, and I think it was just such an amazing approach. So I'll always think of Anthony Bourdain as being one of my favorite TV chefs, if you even want to call him that, because he was just so different than everyone else.
Oh yes, and like I have to say, his book is amazing. He's like yourself. He's a very good writer,
Yeah,
and like when you see these stories, see you literally can see what he wrote, the stories he passed in the kitchen, and it was different days. But
yeah,
like, it's amazing to see it. It's amazing to see, and the way he translated that in the future in his career. But like with that much love with food you have, I- I'll consider you as a chef because you're gonna tell us a little bit more about your story. You work in the kitchen, you have your experience, you pass your time there, but basically now you you work in marketing. So why that exchange? I know it's very difficult to be in the kitchen and try to grow and get your respect and get the like get your next level to make the money. The money is in the very end,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's not everyone can reach that far to get that. I do understand it's part of that, but why you decide not to stay just as a chef?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, and I think just picking up on what you said, I think the discussion came when I was around 17 years of age, and I was kind of finishing up secondary school. And in secondary school, I did a lot of home ec, which is basically like it's half it is cooking, half it is other bits and pieces, and I loved it so much. And I think I got the idea. I really want to do culinary arts when I finished school. It's
Yeah.
like I felt like it was in my heart, and I had a kind of discussion with my dad because he kind of had been through that situation. You know what I mean? Like when he was getting up to the bakery, getting up early hours, long days, in the bakery at the time. There was no machines, heavy lifting, really shit pay at the start. But like you said, it takes a while for you to make that transition later
Yes.
on to make money. And he said, listen, you're going to be working when your friends are going out at the weekends. You're going to be working 12 hours, could be 5, 6 days a week. And at the start, you're going to have shit pay. It's going to take you a long time to get where you want to be. And that's if you do even make it in the end. So you could go through these years of hell almost if you make it that way. If you don't, but I think he didn't understand the passion that I had, which is fair enough. So in the end, I decided to go with my head instead of my heart, and I decided to choose advertising and marketing in college. And I think I did that because I said, okay, if I am going to be involved in food later on, I won't be the traditional sense going through being a chef. However, I love restaurants. I love the functionality of restaurants and everything about it, from the food, the hospitality service to the business side of things. I'm going to do advertising marketing. I'm going to kind of learn business, marketing, social media, all these kind of things in between. And then if I make enough money later on in life, I can say, listen, I'm going to start investing in restaurants if I have that opportunity. So it was basically a cost benefit analysis, I call it, I ran at the time. And I have to say, like, I am happy with my decision. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what would have happened if I had have gone decided to be a chef, done culinary arts. You never know. Like, I could have been a really good chef, really talented, but that's something that's like in the past now. I respect the kind of decision that I made. I think it was a wise decision, and now I'm just kind of looking forward to the future to see what I can do to get myself in that kind of that dream space, if that makes sense.
Oh yes, definitely. And question I have for you: what kind of breed of person need to be a chef, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's a good one. The, the three things I'd always think that needs to be a chef is like number one, you have to have passion. You have to have that love for food. I think of it almost as like, well, it should be a vocation, like a calling. Do you know what I mean? I know
Yes.
some people, like, maybe they might start, they don't really know what they want to do. They start off cooking and they find a love for it, which is absolutely fine. But you need to have that love there all the time in order for you to produce good food. You know what I mean? It comes from the heart, and then obviously your skills develop later on. The second thing is, especially in today's society and the way the kitchen is built nowadays, you have to have a good work rate. That's that's the second thing. Like, you have to be able to think about it. Like, you go through culinary arts, you're making dishes the whole time. There's pastry and then savory, and you're doing so much. And then when you finish, you could get the best grade in the world. And then when you finish, you go, okay, I want to go into fine dining. I want to go into kind of Michelin star level. And then you're back peeling potatoes and doing veg and prepping and the mise en place. And I think you have to be able to go through that again to kind of build up your reputation, build up your status in the kitchen.
Hmm.
And so work rate is definitely so important as well. And the third thing, you have to be constantly willing to learn all the time, no matter what. You can't, whether that's working on new skills, new methods of cooking. You see, like, gastronomy is completely changing all the time. Be willing to learn in that way, or take a step outside your comfort zone, go to different countries, learn about different cuisines. So I think you have to be able to learn, you have to be versatile. But if you can kind of put them three things together, you're gonna be a successful chef. There's no doubt about it.
Oh yeah, no, that's completely true. It's challenging to find actually passionate chefs nowadays. Majority of the people come from the industry. Half of them, minimum, they will be lacking one or two of the points you pointed
Yeah,
out, unfortunately, and that's something worries me.
yeah,
In the long run. I hope one of the reasons we have that podcast is for that, to inspire people and say, look, the things like nowadays with the video games and everything, internet and everything instant, is very quick. You get your recognition very quick, and then you put a young chef in the kitchen. After 6 months, the guy stopped to peel potatoes and start just blanching
yeah,
whatever, and then it's just you giving out every single day because it's consistency. And one thing I normally tell the young chefs, we are like athletes in the kitchen. We just keep doing the thing, is not work hard to do something right, but is doing right so many times that you do not get it
yeah,
wrong anymore.
absolutely.
And they don't have that patience anymore, because in the video game or internet, whatever, you pass 5 10 minutes and you change the
Yeah,
level. And as a chef in the real life, you don't
no,
have that. It can be like, could it be 6 months, a year, 3 years until you go and say, yeah, I'm ready. But unfortunately, like, and the mentality is very
yeah,
important. The mindset you said. Um, Hopefully, we can find more chefs like with that
yeah,
mentality. Is very important. That, but you got a job
yeah,
and you have a funny story. Could you tell us about that funny story?
yeah.
How you got the job as a chef?
So this was like the second time I decided to give it a go. Being a chef, but to be honest with you, this was something I did my 9 to 5, and then this is something I did in the evening times, just because I wanted to get back in the kitchen environment again. And even though, like, this is like, it's quite a popular fast casual restaurant in Dublin nowadays. And if you look at my page, that's the most of my reviews are kind of around fast casual, and we'll talk about that
Yeah.
later on. But this is just a part, like, almost like a side hustle for me, because I wanted to get back in that environment. But I was at a house party one night. It was fairly late on. I had a good few drinks on me. I ended up talking to this guy, and we just got into a conversation about food. I said, "Have you ever seen this place?" Blah blah blah, and he goes, "Yes, I'm actually part owner of this restaurant." And we basically started conversing. Then I go, "Oh well, actually, I actually did a review on them a couple of weeks ago." And I showed him the review, and like, oh, he's like, oh, you're that guy, you're truly honest. I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, oh, we loved your review, but your photos were so shit that we couldn't share it. And I was just like, all right, fair enough. But at least you liked the review, and we got talking a bit more. And like I said, it was under the influence of alcohol, but I think the conversation was from the heart. And I said, "Oh, do you need any chefs?" And he goes, "Actually, we were looking for a staff at the moment." And I was like, "All right, well, how would you feel if if I came in, did a few hours in the evening time during the week because I have my job, but I'm really interested in the project that you have going on, and I love to kind of throw my hat at it." And he goes, "Do you know what? Tomorrow, if you're serious about what you want to do, hit me a message on Instagram, and then we'll go from there." And I woke up the next day and I was like, "Oh, did I actually have that conversation?" I was like, "Oh," I was like, "But you know what? This is something I really want to do." So I messaged him. We kind of worked it out, and I ended up working there for a couple of months up until the point where I just couldn't anymore, just because of my schedule. But to be honest with you, it was an amazing time. Um, they had a lot going on and they were quite really creative. And I think, as we'll talk about later on, the fast casual industry in Ireland has taken like a completely different step up in the last 5 years. So many different chefs, restaurants doing so many cool things out there, being extremely creative. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. And it was just a kind of another feather in my cap, essentially, just a learning experience that I'm grateful of today.
You spent some time in the US and you worked there in the hospitality industry. What for you shows the difference of the culture in the hospitality sector between US, it was New
Yeah, yeah,
York, correct? And Ireland. And now you're in London. How the environment and the
yeah.
mentality and the mindset, how did you feel much
No, to be
difference?
honest with you, when I worked in the restaurants over here, especially in Ireland, it's mostly like Hispanic, like whether it's like Brazilian, Portuguese, Spanish chefs.
Hmm.
And then when I worked over in the US in New York again, it was Hispanic, African. So it wasn't so much there wasn't any difference in terms of the people and where they were, because really chilled out guys when you're talking to them thing. However, really hard workers when it actually came down to the food and service. I'd say the differences come in the restaurants that you work in. So whether it's a fast food place, whether it's fast casual, whether you're going for fine dining, or whether you're kind of somewhere in between, like maybe kind of higher class Asian, Italian, whatever. It depends on the environment within the restaurant and what it's trying to do. I think that's when you find the difference. Like for example, but there are pretty much, like, from what I know, like there are similarities between if you go to a fine dining or a Michelin star restaurant in Ireland, it'd be almost identical to one in the US. You know what I mean? Maybe slightly different mentalities, but if you look at, maybe French restaurants, like classical French restaurants back in the day, really, really harsh places to be around, a completely different way of teaching people how to cook than it probably would have seen maybe in the UK and Ireland. You know what I mean? So there are differences in the kitchens, but out of my experiences, it's not so much down to the people, but just the restaurant itself.
You were there just before COVID, right, in New York, and then COVID hit, and for you was a big
Yeah,
turnaround. Uh, how was that challenge and that change
yeah,
in life? The plans, probably you had many plans when you went to US, as as a young man, everyone do, to go to another country, learn something new, and have all that dream, and suddenly
gone.
finish. How was for that? How that
Yeah.
was for
So
you?
I went over there initially, like, on a graduate visa. So you go over the tie. US
Yeah.
and Ireland have a kind of a tie that you can go over there and work for the year. That was cut short by 9 months. I only got 3 months there, roughly three or
Oh.
4 months in New York. So went home, broken dreams, and no job, obviously. So I remember it was just in lockdown, and it was during the day, and I can remember this distinctly in my head. I was sitting down at my table, and I was just like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, do you know what I mean? Obviously, like I'm gonna go try to get a job, but what can I do now just to kind of keep me interested? You know, keep my brain ticking over. And straight away, I was like, do you know what? I'm gonna do a food page. And I'm gonna do reviews on Instagram. I don't know how yet, but I'm gonna just set it up now, and then I can think about everything else as it came along. Because I thought back to before I had the food page, I used to do a lot of Google reviews. So used to love
Yes.
doing them, like, and it was so strange because on Google there's like a huge disparity between people that just one line answers for reviews, blah blah blah, and then me writing full paragraphs. Do you know what I mean? Like essays about restaurants, bit over the top, but I absolutely loved it. And I remember a review I did before of Cat's Deli. It's a really famous deli in New York, and it got like I think it has like over 100,000, way over 100,000 views now, because it was like almost like a novel, a short novel that I wrote, but I created so much emotion, and it was just so strange to see. I think I said, you know what, I love doing this. I wanna keep doing this, but just in a different way. So I started Truly Honest Food. Truly Honest Food is a weird thing. With Truly Honest, it was Truly Honest Food reviews, but because I'm trying to make a transition at the moment to go outside of reviews, Truly Honest Food now, and I just thought that's how I want to be. I want to be honest. I want to give constructive criticism to restaurants, to places that I go for food, and because I feel like that was the gap in the market. There's so many different like food promoters on Instagram, and I felt like this was a space that I could work in, but I could go to fast casual restaurants because, like I said, they were doing amazing things, but give the review the depth and the context it needs to kind of be a bit different and to tell people a lot more. So that's pretty much how it started. Um, it was a great thing to kind of get me out of the slump and gave me something to work on.
Yeah.
To be honest, at the start it was completely rubbish. I was like Instagram is for videos and for images, and at the start I was like writing slides. I was like putting a picture of food, really crap
Yeah.
photos, and then in the caption just writing essays. And I was like, after a while, people started saying to me, "Listen, you need to kind of start doing something a bit different here." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, fair enough." So yeah, it's transformed since then. But yeah, that's pretty much how it started.
For everyone, we start from somewhere, and sometimes it's not pretty when you start. And nonetheless, like you comment something about like is very interesting what you said. What do you think about the between brackets for who is listening that in a podcast, not watching the YouTube, uh, food influencers between brackets, are they just faking to get sponsor and cash in, or what's your feeling about
Yeah,
it?
it's a tough one because I feel like I follow so many different pages on Instagram, and I think there are some like OG pages out there that have been doing this for 4 or 5 years. That I think it was initially their love of food and just going out and hospitality and eating that got them started. Because I don't think at that time there was really a market for this. Do you know what I mean? And I think they
Yeah.
started out just love of food, but then as the page grew and they started kind of getting offers and stuff like that, I'm sure it's difficult to turn down when you get these opportunities. Um, so yeah, I do think some people started out for a love of food, but now they've gotten to the stage. Oh, I can make a few quid off this, or I can get free food, and I can continue my content. And I'm sure it's hard for them to think, but like a lot of them have done really well. Like they've started their own separate businesses based off their brands. And then the opposite side of it is, and I can see it a lot, is that people that are purely out for monetary value, they just want to make either free food or just make a few quid or something like that. And there is clearly people that are like that, and that's their main objective. Um, some huge pages, actually, massive, massive, massive. The biggest one out there is like honestly, like it's purely monetary value. Um, but and then there's also because you can see other people can see that this is the case. So I see a lot of new pages coming in, and you can see straight away what their objective is. like, oh, this food is amazing, this is the best place I've ever been, and they have a picture of Chipper like from around the corner, like, do you know what I mean? I'm just like, what's going on? But I think, as I said, some people do really, really love food. A lot of the big pages started out with a love of food and just kind of took it from there in terms of where they wanted to go. And like I said, they made business from it. And then there are some people that are just purely out there for a quick buck.
What would be the difference between you and them in the future? How would you do? Because like the numbers would not lie, as you said. Those guys there for for the money. I don't. I like me personally. I don't see why. Exactly what you said. The guy went just to the cheaper and eating chips. Oh, that's the best. But like he has
Yeah,
another 40 exactly the same. I think I know even the person you're talking about.
I think everyone does.
Yeah, and I look, I said, that's
Yeah,
not fun. Me personally, I don't like. I saw the guy because there is sponsor content, and as well the algorithm just will throw up for throw up, throw on top for you see that what he's posting,
yeah,
or she. I will not say. Yeah. So what will be the difference between you and them? Like how would you deal with that? And when the people start to say, can you come and review my restaurant, I pay you for that. How you would do the true honest
yeah.
food
So
review?
the way I look at it is basically, what I look for is like the number one person for me is the consumer and the person going to the restaurant. I want someone to be able to look at the reviews that I've done, take value from it, and say, "Oh, this is what truly honest food said." I want them to go, and I want them to have the same experience that I've had if it's a good review, and I want them to say, "Okay, that's someone that's trustworthy. I can trust what he's saying." However, I can't promise that it's going to be like that every time because obviously there are inconsistencies with every restaurant, and that's fair enough. However, at the time when I go in and I have the food and I have the experience, that's how I'm going to do the review. And I'm not saying if I give a bad review to somewhere, I'm not saying don't go, but just take that into consideration. Um, I think in the future, if my page got any bigger than it is, and if I started getting offers in, I would say to them like, you're coming to me based off probably my following and my content. I will come to you and I will give you a post. However, like it's gonna be an honest review. If you can trust the food, if you're passionate enough about your food and you think it's good enough, I have no problem doing it. If you no problem risking it, do you know what I mean? But that's kind of the risk that you take. One of my good friends, he's after starting a page on TikTok. Can I give a shout out? Can I give a shout out?
Sorry. Yeah, yeah. Of
My
course
mate
you can. Of
Paul,
course you
Paul
can.
Mishu. It's called Is It Worth It on TikTok. He's only been doing this for like 2 or 3 months, has over 5,000 followers. He's absolutely smashing it at the moment.
Whoa.
He's doing unbelievable. And he's taken the approach, like the honest approach. And he's gotten a few offers from restaurants. He said same thing. I will do this. However, if it's shit, I'm gonna have to say it. And his most recent one is very very funny, but honest review. And I think I'm gonna kind of stay on that path because at the end of the day, it's more important for me to have my followers trust in saying that okay, he's given the stamp of approval for this place. How I plan to possibly make money in the future is through like consultancy. Do you know what I mean? Restaurant consultancy or something like that. But I don't really have any plans for any to step into that food promoter zone really at the moment. And if I ever did, trust me, I'll show you. I'll show you in some way, or hashtag ad or whatever, just to know that if it ever is like that, this is
Yeah.
an ad. Do you know what I mean? It's not, and I'd never ever give a rate. I would never ever give a rating to a food promotion. Do you know what I mean? If it's a proper review from me, you'll always see it at the end. You'll have my score. You'll have my scores. You know what I mean? So that's what I would say to that.
There's a guy that's some food for thought. Uh, I like the way he does. Like he has around 100,000 followers, if I'm not mistaken, and you don't know who he is. He wear a mask, so he has a mask, a wig, and a glasses, and that's how he does
Oh,
his YouTube channel. Everything is like that.
yeah,
You don't
yeah,
know who the guy is, and people pay him to go to eat in the places, and goes, of course, without the the
yeah,
the, the mask. And what was his name? I will see if I can get him in
yeah,
here one day. But as I said, he's way
yeah.
beyond my league. Probably he will not come here. What's his name? How much
Oh,
is his page called? How much? How much
yeah.
in Dublin? Something like that. And he wear like a ginger beard. You know those glasses you have like in the
Oh,
memes,
yeah,
like
yeah,
the black one. Wear one of those and one
yeah.
Irish hat. That's it. But when you see the guy is
Ah,
not him.
yeah,
Of course he's not. So he goes to the places, he do his reviews, and normally he goes to the places they will serve him like as me or you. They don't know who the guy is, and his private life is kind of like cover up on that. But that being said, and that's something I heard him a time ago. All the idea behind that to put the mask, it was to make sure his family do not get target, because he films around, and he don't want he went his private life, and he had his 9 to 5 job, and he didn't want that job to
yeah,
be affected by what he does. So he started wearing the mask just for that,
yeah,
to not affect. And then, like, my next question to you, how you balance, because people don't see out there how much work we put behind the scenes to have this podcast running, or the True Honest Food running, and in the same time, like, that now at the begin do not generate money to
yeah.
live from that. So how challenges for you to balance your 9 to 5 job and the True Honest
Yeah, it's
Food?
quite tough. It really is. I just have to be really clever with my time management, really. And like I said, I'm only really doing this because I have the passion and I really love doing it. Otherwise, I wouldn't, because, as I said, like, I'm not really gaining anything from it other than just the enjoyment of actually doing it and just kind of seeing the reactions of people. So generally, how I would space it out was I would go to, say, get up and I go to work between 9, and then at lunchtime around from, like, say, 1 to 2, I would have my lunch. But while I'm on my lunch, I'll be kind of editing things, either planning what I want to do or if I want to post that day. 'Cause what I would usually do is I didn't do it over December. It was a bit of a messy one over December, obviously, out a lot, stuff like that, and visiting family. But I would generally have one new review a week, and then I do a throwback Thursday, and then throughout that space, I'd see like dishes or menus that restaurants are putting up, and I'd reshare them on my story just to kind of keep the content circulating and stuff like that. So during my lunchtime, I'll be kind of planning whether it's actually creating content, editing videos, or even just writing. I'd do it then. And then I'd go back to my 9 to 5. I'd go from 2 until 5 or 6. And then at the end of that is usually when I kind of do the final bits of editing, and I'd do a post, and then I'd kind of look at the post for a while, and any comments that come through and just kind of pay a bit of attention. And then I kind of go back to, okay, preparing for the next one. What am I doing? What do I want to do? If that makes sense. So it's a balancing act, really. But like I said, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't love it. And it's just gotten to a stage where I've been doing it for so long now. It's like, what, 2.5 years, 2.5 years, touching on 3 next year. It's just become a part of my daily ritual. Do you know what I mean? And something that I'm so used to doing that. If
Yeah.
I didn't have that space there, that time and space, I don't know what I'd be doing. You know what I mean? So like, it is tough at times. It's hard work, but yeah, I absolutely love it. So I wouldn't change it for anything.
Do you believe you are an influencer?
It depends, because, like, I don't really like. I think the word influencer has become a negative connotation nowadays, especially when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to food. I think, rightly or wrongly. I want to think that I am an influencer in a positive way. That if I give somewhere a good review, that you go, okay, you know what, I want to give this place a chance. I want the food that he has had, or I want that same experience. And that if you see my reviews and you go and base that off and you have a really good meal, then yes, I'd love to influence people to do that and have that experience. But as far as that goes, that's all. I just want people to look at the reviews I have or my content and just enjoy it. Really, whether you want to go to these restaurants or whether you're just looking at it from a content and food point of view, it's no problem at all. But that's the only kind of influence I want to have on people. Really.
And how challenging is now you living in London and your the true honest food now because
Yeah.
in two countries. How you balancing that? Are you finding challenging, or your focus is just in Ireland, or you're just review
Yeah, it's
where
kind
you
of a
go?
tough one, and the way I wanted to do it, and the way I'm trying to do it is basically like a lot of my frequent posts, and you'll see now where a lot of them are from London based. I still have a huge following from at least 80% of my followers are still from Ireland. Do you know what I mean? And still expecting
Oh,
me to
that's good.
post about Dublin. And what I try and do, I try to get back to Dublin once a month, and I'll have a list of restaurants that I want to go to. And I haven't been doing it that well, but it's something that I'm trying to work towards just to kind of keep that relevance. And I still I'm still really focused on what's happening in Ireland at the moment in terms of new restaurants coming out, different food concepts, different ideas.
Hmm.
I'm really interested in that. So I want to stay within the loop, and I want to show people that okay, I have moved to London now, but I haven't forgotten. You know what I mean? I still Dublin is still an amazing place to go for food, and it's something that I really want to try and do. However, I am trying to grow my following. I'm a very small fish now in London because some of these pages are insane in every sense. Like content is amazing. The places that they're going are probably somewhere that I couldn't go consistently yet because it costs you a pretty penny. But it's it's something that I will have to work off now because if you think about it, your algorithm of your device has been set in a certain place. So any sort of strength that I had before was from Dublin, Ireland, and now that it's changed, I kind of have lost that bit of that push from Dublin, Ireland, and now I'm starting fresh over in
Yes.
London. So starting the kind of algorithm again is keeping it going. I feel like it's messing it up a bit because sometimes because like you'd have the hashtags which are associated with London, and then when I do a post on Ireland, it's like hashtag Ireland foodie, hashtag dumb food, all that sort of stuff. Like, and I feel like is this potentially like messing up my ability to grow the page? But to be honest with you, I just have to adapt. I have to work with it because there's no other way. This is the way it's going to be. I can't change anything right now. So this is the way it's going to be. It has been really difficult, but and I will make changes as I go along. The more I learn, but yeah, that's how it is for now. Anyway.
It's very challenging. Uh, with your marketing degree and your love to write, do you think that's the way through honest food will go? And how do you see yourself with that strength you have? Is the difference between yourself and the other guys out of the in the crowd?
Yeah, I think I have more options, but it really depends how I play my cards. Really, like at the moment, my main goal is to kind of grow the page in terms of following. Once I get that to a certain level, then I can start thinking about where I want to go with it. Like I said, I would love to go into consultancy, but consultancy is such a niche. You know what I mean? If you even like, if you, I don't know, if you look at, you know, Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares, like when Gordon Ramsay was coming to restaurants and telling people how this should be done, and they were telling them to fuck off, basically. So, what are they going to take, or why would they consider inviting me into the restaurant as like a secret shopper or something like that, and saying, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. This is a value for us. So it's basically
Yeah.
that's the way I want to prove my value in terms of knowledge as the page grows and work on my content. And you talked about writing. I want to get my website started up again so I can start doing proper blogs and proper writing the way I used to love to write. A combination of that working on my content, and yeah, like I said, just seeing where it goes and just being open to any options that come my way.
That's amazing. And what should expect from truly honest food in the future, or in the short term
Yeah,
and long
I
term?
think firstly, content. I'm gonna be trying to improve everything from my videos, pictures. I'm gonna try, say for example, if I've gone to a restaurant before a couple of times and I really love what they're doing, I can tell like from the concept, from the food, from the service that they're doing an amazing job and they're making beautiful food. I'd love to promote them. Do you know what I mean? Just do more content on it behind the scenes, sort of,
Yes.
because like I know that I can trust that place, so it's something that I can work with. Do you know what I mean? And it follows my brand. I'd love to
Yes.
start doing more of that. Sometimes a lot of people will not let you do that just because it's a bit of an inconvenience for them. They have to see value in it in terms of promotion, or whatever. But that's something that I really want to push for. I haven't thought completely how I'm going to do it, but it's just, as I said, it's a dream in the pipeline. But yeah, just at the moment, I'm just going to try keep going with it, try and get a bit more consistency. But like I said, open for adaptation all the time, and yeah, just see where it goes.
Owen, was great to have you in.
Thank you for
And
having me.
no, no, thank you. And a big thank you for our today's sponsor.
Today's sponsor is FoodKast. Do you want to promote your brand or product in an effective way direct to our public? Check our website, social media, and all products and services we provide. Contact us for more information. This is FoodKast, where you promote your brand and more.
How people can reach you, and what service Truly Honest Food can provide.
Yeah, so you can reach me on, first of all, the Instagram is my main one, at Truly Honest Food. I'm on TikTok as well, the exact same, at Truly Honest Food. Slightly different content. And if you want to hit me up, message in my DMs, no problem. We can have a conversation about food or whatever. But yeah, that's how you can catch me.
Thank to listen or watch, and don't forget to smash that like, follow, and share button. This is Foodcast, where you listen or watch your podcast and more.